Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take your stack of source material, your strategic reports, your industry predictions, all those internal white papers, and we really distill it down to the essential insights.
Right.
And today, we have a mission that's, tailored specifically for the experienced security professional. We're talking about someone who's spent over 15 years building really robust traditional defenses and is now, well, confronting this seismic shift that is artificial intelligence.
It's a huge shift. And our listener, you're facing a really strategic moment here. Your sources all seem to confirm this natural tension in the industry.
Attention. You mean the fear versus the opportunity?
Exactly. On one side, you have this understandable concern that all that deep, hard-won technical expertise might be, rendered secondary by the sheer speed and complexity of AI.
Sure, that's a real fear. Obsolescence.
But on the other hand, there's this immense opportunity to transition into a new, incredibly powerful strategic leadership role. So our deep dive today is really designed to provide that strategic roadmap.
To make that transition happen.
Yes. And to confirm that those decades of experience, they aren't just relevant. They are the absolute necessary foundation for what we're calling the CISO 2.0.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're moving beyond the CISO 1.0, the gatekeeper of the past.
Yeah.
Your source material defines this future role as the strategic risk architect.
That's the key term.
And it sounds like this requires a complete shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving from managing, technical threats to architecting business resilience.
It's a fundamental change. It means bridging that deep technical understanding that AI developers and data scientists have.
Which is its own world.
A completely different world. And you have to bridge that with the very distinct language and, frankly, the different priorities of the business board. We're talking legal, HR, the entire executive C-suite.
That sounds like the core challenge right there, being that translator.
It is. And if we want to visualize this monumental transformation, the sources offer a really perfect analogy.
Okay.
The shift from being a castle defender to a city planner.
Okay, that clicks immediately. The castle defender. That's the traditional CISO, right?
Exactly.
You're totally laser-focused on perimeter security,
Yeah.
the walls, the moat, the firewalls.
Right, keeping the bad guys out.
Yeah, your whole life is spent securing the network edges, running threat detection systems, just making sure that external threats stay out. It's a very reactive, boundary-focused kind of role.
It is. But now, AI is integrated so deep within the organizational infrastructure. Your digital city is huge, it's complex, it's full of these autonomous systems.
So the city planner's job is completely different.
Completely. A city planner doesn't just worry about external threats, they worry about the safety that's built into the city itself. They have to manage risks like, planning traffic flow, zoning, making sure the infrastructure is safe.
And guaranteeing the public services don't just fail internally.
Precisely. The risk is no longer just some external infiltration. It's systemic.
Yeah.
It's built right into the metaphorical highways and utilities of your entire digital city.
I wonder, though, where does that analogy break down? Because a castle defender's primary job was immediate, forceful rejection. They were the no team. Does the strategic risk architect still need that adversarial mindset? Because the external threats, they haven't gone away.
That's a really important nuance. The castle defender mindset, that deep technical knowledge of vulnerabilities and exploits, it doesn't disappear. It can't.
So what happens to it?
It becomes the input for the city planner's strategic decisions. The CISO 2.0 still understands the network, absolutely, but their output is governance, not just enforcement.
Okay, so less about policing and more about governing.
Exactly. The city planner is about enabling commerce and movement while managing the inevitable risks that come with a thriving, complex environment.
Right.
They shift from just policing the borders to actually governing the internal flow.
That sets the stage perfectly. So let's get into section 1, the great shift. Redefining the security mandate and really explore how this role has been redefined, extending far beyond, simply checking the firewall logs.
Let's do it.
So historically, as our sources from CIO Influence confirm, the traditional CISO was, like we said, a reactive defender, a technological sentinel. The job revolved around threat detection systems and securing those network edges. But this CISO 2.0 is described as a multi-skilled leader who combines that deep technical expertise, your 15-plus years of experience, with strategic power. For you, the listener, what does that combination actually look like in your day-to-day practice?
Well, what's crucial here is the shift in output. The CISO 2.0 is expected to prioritize governance, resilience, and critically, business enablement.
Business enablement. That is a profound conceptual leap.
It is. Security is no longer just some separate cost center that audits the business after the fact. It has to be built into the products and services the firm offers.
So like a secure by design requirement for every new feature.
That's exactly it. And it means the CISO is involved right at the inception of a new product or application. You're there helping to design the secure offering, rather than just getting a report and auditing it for vulnerabilities 6 months down the line.
And this expansion it's entirely driven by the changing nature of the threat itself. Which brings us to our next point. AI risks are systemic, not external. We're realizing that old security methods like, say, blocking a malicious IP address were just not designed to deal with problems that are built within the system, often accidentally.
Oh, it's the scary part.
So let's detail the 3 critical internal AI risks the ASO 2.0 has to manage now.
Right. So when you deploy AI, you're deploying a system that is constantly learning and changing, and that introduces these systemic vulnerabilities that, traditional network tools, they just won't register as malicious activity. They don't see it.
Because it's not an attack in the traditional sense.
Exactly. The first key risk here is model drift.
Okay, what is that?
Model drift happens when the performance of an AI model just degrades over time. It gets worse because the real-world input data starts changing in ways the original training data didn't anticipate.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine an AI trained to detect specific types of financial fraud based on, say, 2022 transaction patterns. If the economic climate shifts dramatically in 2024, the model might just start failing silently. It starts approving fraudulent transactions or, just as bad, rejecting legitimate customers.
And no alarm bells are going off.
None. So the strategic consequence for the CISO 2.0 is clear. If model drift goes unnoticed in a high-stakes area like loan approvals or even predictive maintenance on factory equipment, the errors don't look like a cyber attack. They look like massive, systematic revenue loss or regulatory failures.
So monitoring and observability,
No.
they suddenly become central security functions.
They're absolutely critical, and that operational failure risk often connects directly to the second risk, bias and hallucinations.
This one gets a lot of press.
It does, because this is about the trustworthiness and the ethical soundness of the output, and that carries immediate reputational and financial liability.
So biased outputs, they stem directly from flawed training data, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If the data you feed it embeds real-world societal biases, age, gender, ethnicity, the model won't just perpetuate them, it will often amplify those biases.
Which leads to these unfair, discriminatory, or just factually incorrect outcomes, these hallucinations, where the AI just presents incorrect information as if it's a certainty.
Right. And the real-world legal risk is enormous. We have a powerful example from the sources, the remote tutoring company iTutor Group.
What happened there?
They paid a significant fine, $365,000, to settle an unlawful age discrimination suit. Their AI-powered recruiting software was proven to automatically reject older applicants.
Wow, so that wasn't a phishing email or a virus. That was a flawed model causing a massive, measurable financial and reputational consequence.
Exactly. The CISO 2.0 needs to recognize that data governance is financial risk management. They are one and the same now.
And the third risk, shadow AI. This feels like a direct evolution of the old shadow IT problem, but it seems like it has much greater potential for vulnerability and data leakage.
It is exactly that, but it's amplified by how easy Gen AI tools are to use. Shadow AI is basically departments or individual employees using unapproved, externally hosted models or tools.
Often without IT or security even knowing about it.
Right. And critically, without signing the right liability agreements. This instantly expands the organization's vulnerability footprint. These tools, they lack the secure hosting, the sandboxing, the data minimization policies, and all the governance frameworks that security professionals would mandate.
So you can't just address this by sending out a memo saying, don't use this stuff.
A ban email is not going to work. You have to proactively enable safe, governed use. And that means fostering these cross-functional partnerships.
Which moves us perfectly to our next point, the cross-functional enabler. If the CISO's job now involves ethics, data quality, business development, you can't operate in a silo. You just can't.
No, you must not.
So who are the key new partners the city planner has to collaborate with?
The CISO truly becomes the integrator. They are the translator between the technical and the legal operational spheres.
Okay, so who's first on the list?
First, they have to work hand in glove with legal and compliance. This partnership manages data governance, regulatory adherence,
All the legal stuff.
all of it. They have to mandate data provenance, which means tracking the origin, the lineage, and the transformation of data. You need to know where it came from. And of course, ensuring compliance with crucial privacy regulations like GDPR and CCPA.
And given that AI just consumes these huge volumes of sensitive data, including PII.
Right, personally identifiable information.
Yeah.
The CISO has to provide the technical mechanism for the legal team's policy requirements. It's a true partnership.
And the second partner.
That would be HR. This partnership is essential for training employees on responsible AI use, establishing acceptable use policies.
And proactively checking AI tools for bias.
Yes, in areas like recruiting, promotions, and performance reviews, they're managing the systemic human risks together.
Okay, and third, and maybe this is the most important one.
I think so. They collaborate directly with data science and engineering. This is crucial for ensuring secure model deployment, guaranteeing that models are safely hosted, properly sandboxed.
And setting authorization restrictions, like who could even access the sensitive training data sets or use the large language models.
That's it. This relationship fundamentally shifts security from being an adversary in the innovation cycle to a foundational partner that enables safe, rapid development.
This shift from blocking to enabling is, I think, best illustrated by this concept in the sources, the sandbox approach. This highlights the need to move from the old method being the no team and just blocking a new AI tool entirely to a team focused on strategic enablement. Can you walk us through how the sandbox illustrates this cultural and operational pivot?
It's the perfect demonstration of strategic security. Instead of just issuing a mandate to block the new Gene AI tool, the CIA 2.0 champions the creation of a sandbox environment.
With clear, defined guardrails.
Exactly. This allows the innovation team to experiment safely with the technology. But critically, the security team is involved from day one.
From the very beginning.
From the beginning. You're adopting established governance frameworks like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework or AI RMF, and you're establishing continuous monitoring right from the earliest stages of development.
So security isn't stopping the business from using generative AI. Security is providing the secure infrastructure and the necessary governance oversight to show them how to use it effectively, compliantly, and at scale.
Precisely. And this strategic enablement, it completely transforms how security is perceived. It shifts the CISO's function from an unavoidable cost problem, always spending money to catch up to a measurable value enabler.
You're providing a competitive advantage, speed, and trust.
And that, as the sources note, is highly valued by the board. That is how the CISO 2.0 secures their seat at the strategic table. They enable the ROI, they don't block it.
That's a fantastic transition. If the safety planner is now enabling the creation of the city, we really need to understand the architecture of the city's risk management systems. So let's dive into Section 2, the AI risk portfolio and governance imperatives.
Let's do it.
Okay, when we talk about architecting risk, we need structure. Our sources outline that an effective organizational approach has to manage complexity by integrating risk across 4 core areas. This is the blueprint for the strategic risk architect. What are these 4 pillars?
These 4 pillars represent a real necessity. You have to manage the technical, the data, the operational, and the strategic layers of AI risk all at the same time. You're moving far beyond just network security.
So what's the first pillar?
The first pillar is cyber resilience. This covers protecting AI systems from these new, novel AI-specific attacks.
And what do those look like?
Well, we're talking about adversarial evasion. This is where an attacker makes these tiny, often imperceptible changes to input data, a few pixels on an image, or a few words in a prompt that cause the AI model to make an entirely wrong decision.
That's insidious.
It is. We also have to deal with model theft, where attackers replicate a proprietary model's behavior without even having the code, and data poisoning, which is inserting malicious or biased data into the training sets to intentionally skew future outcomes.
So how does the CIO 2.0 even begin to defend against that?
They have to lead AI-specific threat modeling using advanced frameworks like the MITRE ATLAS matrix to map these new adversarial tactics, techniques, and procedures, the TTPs.
So it's not just about securing the server that hosts the AI anymore. It's about proactively securing the fundamental integrity and logic of the model itself.
That's it, which leads us directly to the second pillar, data.
Data risk and governance.
Right. AI systems are intrinsically linked to the quality, the lineage, and the protection of the data they consume. So the mandate here is rigorous.
What does that mean in practice?
It means mandating data provenance tracking, where every single piece of training data came from, who touched it, and how it was transformed. This is essential for auditing and for legal compliance. It also requires implementing really rigorous bias control during model development to prevent embedding those systemic biases we talked about earlier.
And you can use machine learning to help with this, right?
Absolutely. Machine learning solutions themselves are becoming essential for continuous data scanning and classification, ensuring sensitive data is protected according to regulations like CCPA.
And Pillar 3 focuses on minimizing downtime and ensuring business continuity.
Yeah.
This sounds like an expansion of the traditional business continuity mandate, but maybe at machine speed.
That's a great way to put it. This is operational resilience. It's about minimizing downtime and ensuring business continuity, even when these complex systemic failures occur, like a rogue AI agent executing a faulty command across multiple cloud environments.
And you can use AI for defense here, too.
Critically, yes. Organizations are using it for predictive disruption forecasting, anticipating where and when the next system failure or supply chain disruption will happen, and for automated communication during crises.
And the speed is the key.
Speed is everything. We see examples like Walmart using AI to reduce the mean time to detect a system issue by over 7 minutes compared to traditional methods. You're moving beyond static recovery plans to dynamic, automated, continuous system health monitoring.
Okay, and the final pillar, strategic threat intelligence. This moves the CISO fully into the long-term, almost geopolitical planning realm.
Absolutely. This pillar demands using generative AI to analyze massive volumes of open-source intelligence OSINT. We're talking news feeds, policy documents, social media chatter,
To what end?
to inform long-term decision-makers on overarching non-daily risks and future scenarios. Strategic threat intelligence focuses on broad analysis like understanding global shifts in AI regulation or anticipating the impact of new quantum computing breakthroughs.
So it's about providing the context for enterprise-wide planning that spans 3 to 5 years, not 3 to 5 days.
Exactly. It defines the risk appetite of the organization in a very rapidly changing world.
Now that we've established those 4 architectural pillars, let's move to the essential components of governance. When we talk about AI governance, we mean the structured process to manage AI use in a trustworthy and responsible way. For you, listening, who has to operationalize this, 3 components seem paramount, and it starts with transparency.
Transparency is foundational. It has to be, because it is the direct countermeasure to the dreaded black box problem.
Right, where the AI makes a decision and nobody knows why.
Exactly. When an AI model makes a decision, whether it's approving a mortgage or flagging a system anomaly, stakeholders, auditors, and regulators need to understand how the model reached that decision.
So a key objective of AI governance is providing visibility and what's called explainability, or XAI.
Right. Without XAI, it is impossible to identify potential biases or errors, and that leads directly to regulatory exposure. Organizations need frameworks that ensure every risk assessment or model output comes with a clear, verifiable rationale.
And that's what builds stakeholder engagement and, critically, gets you through an audit.
It makes for much smoother audit approvals, yes.
And as we discussed with the iTutor Group case, fairness is non-negotiable, not just ethically, but financially.
Fairness is a constant requirement. It mandates continuous monitoring of data quality for drifts and biases throughout the model's entire lifecycle. You have to apply rigorous standards to prevent biased outcomes in deployment.
And we already highlighted the $365,000 settlement related to age discrimination.
Right. And if you are operating in a regulated industry, finance, healthcare, employment, demonstrable fairness, backed by technical audit trails, is the difference between operational success and significant legal fines. The CISO must ensure the tools are in place to constantly validate the model against non-discriminatory principles.
Okay, and the third essential component, data privacy. This is where your 15 years of technical security experience immediately translates, though the scale seems much larger now.
That's absolutely right. AI models consume these vast, diverse, and often highly sensitive data sets, including PII. So governance must mandate strict data minimization principles.
Only collect what is absolutely necessary.
Yes, and ensure secure storage and transmission through encryption and zero-trust models, and guarantee compliance with major global regulations like GDPR and CCPA. Protecting privacy is essential not only to maintain user trust, but also to avoid the significant legal repercussions and reputational damage that come with large-scale data breaches, especially when AI models centralize that risk.
So let's pivot to global regulatory alignment. It really seems like the regulatory environment is finally starting to catch up to the pace of technological advancement. The CISO 2.0 has to be adaptable to this rapidly changing landscape. What are the key frameworks that are defining the new boundaries?
The CISO 2.0 has to adopt a principle-based, framework-driven approach because formal regulations are inherently slow. If you understand the main global frameworks, you can create internal policies that are future-proof.
So what's the big one?
First, the most comprehensive is the EU AI Act. This is a landmark regulatory framework. It uses a tiered risk approach, categorizing AI systems into 4 levels.
Okay, what are they?
Unacceptable, which is just banned, like social scoring. Then there's high risk, which requires strict controls. Think medical devices. Then limited risk, which requires basic transparency, and minimal risk, which is most common AI use.
And the Act then prescribes specific, legally binding requirements based on that risk level.
Exactly. For example, high-risk systems require formal risk management systems, stringent data governance, and human oversight measures. And given the EU's global regulatory reach, this framework sets a very high bar for any company operating internationally.
So the EU Act is prescriptive law. What about the U.S. approach? Is it different?
It is. In the U.S., the dominant framework is the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, or AI-RMF. And crucially, this is voluntary guidance.
But it's becoming the standard.
It's becoming the operational standard, yes. It's focused on practical risk management across the entire AI lifecycle, and it provides a 4-function core: govern, map, measure, and manage.
And the NIST RMF, it emphasizes a socio-technical approach.
Right. It recognizes that managing AI risks involves both sophisticated technical tools and these human cultural factors. And it heavily stresses stakeholder involvement. Organizations are increasingly using this framework as the how-to guide for operationalizing the principles that you find in the EU Act.
And then finally, there's the ethical compass that kind of steers both of these.
That would be the IEE, Ethically Aligned Design, or EAD. This is a comprehensive set of non-regulatory guidelines that prioritizes ethical considerations from first principle. Its key features include an emphasis on human rights, well-being, transparency, and accountability across different cultural contexts.
So it's not law, but it provides the philosophical and ethical foundation.
It provides the definition of good AI that informs the structure of the EU Act's risk categories and the NIST RMF's governing functions. So the strategic risk architect needs to understand all 3. EAD provides the why, the EU Act provides the what, the law, and NIST RMF provides the how, the operational roadmap.
It's evident that the new job description demands a command of legal and ethical compliance that's equal to, or maybe even greater than, the command of network protocols.
I think that's fair to say.
Which brings us to the inevitable challenge. How do you quantify all this governance?
Right.
This brings us to Section 3, the risk translator. Quantifying value and impact. If the CISO 2.0 is the strategic risk architect, then they have to master the role of the risk translator. They have to articulate how technical risk converts into concrete business terms. For a technical professional, moving from packet logs to financial projections is often the hardest leap. How do you successfully bridge that technical reality with tangible financial outcomes?
Well, this is the moment where your 15-plus years of technical knowledge gains its highest strategic value. You have to translate these granular technical risks like, say, the probability of model drift leading to a 5% increase in loan defaults into business terms.
Like financial loss, reputation damage.
And specific regulatory fines. This requires risk quantification models that assign clear financial values to specific security or identity risks, and that allows remediation efforts to be prioritized based on projected business impact and ROI.
Because if you can't talk in terms of dollars and cents, the C-suite can't prioritize your budget.
That's the bottom line.
The traditional complaint is always that governance slows innovation down. It's seen as a drag. But our sources strongly refute this. They tie governance directly to business success.
The evidence is overwhelming on this. Analysis demonstrates that implementing a high number of trust-related actions, so prioritizing governance, accountability, transparency, fairness, during Gen AI deployment directly correlates with achieving higher expected business benefits.
Why? Why does more governance lead to more benefit?
Because structured governance reduces rework. It minimizes expensive errors in production, and it guarantees regulatory compliance up front. The data is clear. Strategic governance can lead to up to a 55% improvement in regulatory compliance adherence. That's not a cost, that's an efficiency gain.
And speaking of efficiency, the economic case for adopting AI, provided it's done securely, seems incredibly strong.
The time to value for strategic AI deployment is rapid, which makes the CSO's role in enabling it so valuable. The sources cite a highly compelling statistic
Okay.
that 74% of executives report seeing positive return on investment, or ROI, on at least one Gen AI use case within the first year of implementation.
Let's pause on that 74% figure for a second. That's huge. Why is the ROI so immediate? What are the common use cases that are driving that kind of rapid return?
That rapid ROI is usually driven by automation in high-volume, low-discretion tasks. You can think about it in three main areas.
Okay.
First, internal knowledge management, using Gen AI to instantly summarize thousands of pages of internal policy documents or compliance regulations. This boosts the productivity of your highly paid legal and compliance staff immediately.
Okay, that makes sense. What's number two?
Second, customer service automation. Automated ticket triage and first-line responses, which frees up your human agents for the really complex problem.
And a third.
Automated code review. Assisting developers by flagging potential vulnerabilities in code, which accelerates time to market. So when the CISO enables this secure sandbox for these uses, they are directly responsible for unlocking that 74% ROI.
This brings us to shifting to outcome-based metrics. This is where the CISO's communication with the board has to fundamentally change. You need to move away from those activity-based metrics, how many patches were deployed, how many phishing emails were blocked, to strategic outcome-based KPIs that are validated by evidence.
Right.
What are the key performance indicators that matter in the age of autonomous defense?
The focus has to shift to measurable impact on the business P&L. We can break this down into three categories of quantifiable metrics.
What's the first?
First is risk reduction efficacy. This tracks the effectiveness of your proactive defense. Key metrics here are the reduction in mean time to detect, MTTD, and mean time to respond, MTTR, to incidents.
So when you report a 20% reduction in your MTTR,
You are quantifying how much less damage a breach will cause. Consider the financial sector example. MasterCard's decision intelligence system. It analyzes transactional data to detect fraudulent activity in real time, achieving detection within a staggering 50 milliseconds.
50 milliseconds.
That speed directly translates to billions in loss avoidance. That is a measurable outcome that the board immediately understands.
The idea is that faster security is cheaper security. What about the second category, operational efficiency?
Operational efficiency measures the reduction in manual repetitive processes. It's about freeing up valuable human capital. A critical example in identity and access management, or IAM, is the reduction in manual access review, MAR, cycle time.
Right, the quarterly access reviews that everyone hates.
Exactly. AI-driven identity security can automate or eliminate much of this review cycle, reducing the MAR cycle time by up to 80%. This yields clear operational efficiency gains and substantial cost avoidance by reducing manual workload.
So the CISO can go to the board and say, we freed up 10,000 hours of compliance staff time.
And that's a measurable outcome delivered by secure AI tools.
And finally, compliance efficiency, which connects back to the regulatory focus we were just talking about.
This quantifies the reduction in audit preparation hours and the severity of audit findings. Quantifiable gains here, like an average of $125,000 reported in some studies for compliance efficiency, demonstrate lower external audit costs and minimized regulatory fines. This directly proves that compliance is a value generator, not just overhead.
So the new executive dashboards have to be outcome-based. They need to show leadership not just what was found, but explicitly what risk was reduced and how much value was saved or enabled.
That's the key.
Let's ground this with a real-world example in financial services. Financial institutions are so often the testing grounds for these strategic pivots because the stakes are just so high.
They are, and in financial services, the synergy between AI and governance has two major immediate impacts. First, AI provides enhanced fraud detection.
We talked about the MasterCard example.
Right. Machine learning applies advanced pattern analysis to transactional data in real time, identifying suspicious activity with far greater accuracy than rules-based systems, and it significantly reduces those annoying false positives. Millisecond speed is achievable and necessary.
And the second impact.
Second, Gen AI is highly effective at automating and scaling compliance work. It excels at discovering, classifying, and summarizing complex documents like internal policies, trade agreements, or mortgage-backed securities contracts.
So instead of a compliance team manually reading thousands of pages.
Gen AI highlights the high-risk clauses and summarizes the regulatory impact. This boosts the productivity of your existing expert staff in risk and compliance, enabling them to shift their focus from manual data collection to strategic risk analysis. The value proposition is clear. Security enables the rapid, safe, and productive use of AI across the entire organization.
The technology and the financial rationale are clearly ready, but every source we analyze emphasizes that the biggest challenge is still cultural and human. We need to dig into that next, focusing on why soft skills are now your hardest asset.
Absolutely.
Moving into Section 4, the human factor, we confirm the reality for you, our experienced listener. The biggest challenges ahead are not technical. They're behavioral, cultural, and ethical. Our sources point out that ethical leadership is crucial. For the 15-year veteran moving into this strategic role, how does the CISO 2.0 master the ethics of AI to manage these societal impacts?
Ethical leadership is paramount because it's the most effective way to build stakeholder trust. And that trust mitigates potential legal, financial, and reputational risks, which ensures the sustainable adoption of AI. The CISO 2.0 has to elevate their expertise beyond just basic vulnerability patching to mastering the ethics of AI.
So what does that mean? It means applying abstract moral concepts like fairness and transparency to complex real-world dilemmas.
Right, like the social impact of automated decision-making in high-stakes fields like hiring, insurance, or even predictive policing.
And this requires adopting empathy as a guiding principle. Now, that feels like a very soft term in a hard security field. What does empathy mean operationally in AI governance?
Operationally, empathy means moving beyond simply checking a compliance box. It requires you to anticipate and understand the societal implications of AI, not just the technological and financial aspects.
So for the CSO, this means asking.
It means asking, who is harmed if the system is biased? What is the real-world impact if a financial decision made by an algorithm is wrong and unexplainable? It means managing the social impact of automated systems and ensuring that your models are developed and governed to align with human values and respect privacy rights.
That is a massive shift from just managing technical vulnerabilities to navigating moral and social dilemmas. It requires deep engagement with HR and legal.
Constant engagement.
Now, when we turn to building a culture of resilience, our sources say the biggest challenge is internal inertia and changing old ways of thinking. That culture change is the first and last line of defense. Why is achieving cultural resilience in the AI era so difficult, especially in organizations with these strong traditional security hierarchies?
Well, traditional security culture often relied on static policies, a high degree of control, and often punishment for failures. It created a no environment where developers and users were afraid to report problems or experiment with new tools.
And the CSO 2.0 needs to foster a culture that moves beyond that.
Far beyond those annual compliance checks, you have to move toward continuous interactive learning and constant reinforcement.
So where do you start?
It begins with fostering psychological safety and open communication. If you are asking your teams to rapidly adopt new technologies like Gen AI, mistakes are inevitable. They will happen.
And you need a culture that can handle that.
Yes. Companies that prioritize psychological safety empowering teams to report governance failures, to ask questions about ethical dilemmas, and to challenge controls without fear of punitive blame, they will bounce back faster and stronger from any incident.
And that psychological safety is directly linked to the need for human oversight. We have some famous cautionary tales about what happens when AI autonomy is deployed without sufficient human context or governance oversight.
The 2016 Microsoft Tay chatbot incident remains the definitive cautionary tale.
Remind us what happened there.
Tay was designed to learn conversational patterns from users on Twitter. Within 24 hours of its launch, malicious users exploited this learning loop. They manipulated the algorithm to generate offensive and inflammatory content.
And Microsoft had to shut it down.
They had to swiftly shut down this highly visible $200 million investment. And the lesson for the CISO 2.0 is stark. The failure was not technical. It was a failure to anticipate misuse, lack of adequate content filtering policies, and just insufficient human oversight designed into the system.
So applying that lesson today, what specific oversight policies must the CIA 2.0 write to prevent the modern equivalent of the Tay incident?
They must mandate continuous red teaming, which we will discuss more in the next section, and, most importantly, they have to enforce a clear human-in-loop HITL policy for any high-risk applications.
So, for example, if an AI is assisting in hiring decisions,
a human reviewer must be the final adjudicator, and that human must have access to the model's rationale. This governance policy ensures that the organization maintains accountability and reduces the risk of autonomous reputational damage or regulatory failure.
And central to building this trust and enabling that human oversight is explainable AI, XAI.
XAI is non-negotiable for the strategic CSO. It's the mechanism that ensures that risk assessments and AI decisions come with a rationale that is understandable to a human. This fully addresses the black box problem and is crucial for building stakeholder engagement.
Because auditors and legal teams require that transparency.
They do. They need to understand how the conclusion was reached and to verify the system's integrity against established fairness metrics. XAI frameworks facilitate smoother audit approvals and build internal confidence in the system's integrity.
Finally, let's talk about upskilling for the strategic executive. What should a 15-year security veteran prioritize in their personal development? It's not necessarily a deep dive into neural networks, is it?
Not primarily, no. For the executive profile, upskilling has to shift focus from technical execution to operationalizing governance. You need to move from understanding abstract responsible AI concepts to translating them into concrete, actionable enterprise policies that the entire organization can actually follow.
So the strategic value is in the framework implementation.
Exactly.
So what specific certifications or frameworks are most valuable for this strategic transition?
The certification priorities should lean heavily toward frameworks that provide governance architecture. We are talking about the NIST AI RMF Architect Certification or the IAPP AIGP, which is the AI Governance Professional.
And why those specifically?
Because these programs are specifically designed to bridge that technical gap, they translate abstract concepts into standardized, actionable enterprise policies, and that gives the executive the necessary vocabulary and structure for organizational regulatory success.
And how do you gain practical mastery immediately without just, collecting certifications?
The sources recommend starting with strategic personal use cases that provide immediate demonstrable value in your current role.
What does that look like?
It means immediately incorporating secure internal Gen AI tools into your own executive duties for strategic intelligence synthesis and decision support. For example, you could pilot the use of a secure internal LLM to ingest weeks of security meeting notes, incident reports, and compliance findings, and have it generate a structured, real-time risk severity forecast before your weekly risk committee review.
That's leading by example. Using the technology safely to prove its strategic value in risk management.
Exactly. It demonstrates personal commitment to AI adoption, it reduces your personal workload, and it helps overcome organizational resistance to change by leading from the front.
This pivot is already essential, but the pace is about to accelerate dramatically, which brings us to the most immediate future threat, agentic AI.
Right. The next wave.
In Section 5, we confront this next wave of AI disruption, agentic AI. This is a shift from Gen AI as a passive assistant to these semi-autonomous software entities that take actions and achieve goals on their own. How does this shift fundamentally change the threat landscape for security professionals?
The primary impact is the collapse of time. Agentic AI is an autonomous, goal-oriented system. That means it can rapidly execute multiple steps of an attack reconnaissance, vulnerability scanning, crafting personalized phishing campaigns, credentialed exploitation, all without human intervention.
And Gartner has a prediction on this.
Yes, Gartner predicts that by 2027, AI agents will reduce the time required to exploit account exposures by 50%.
50%.
So when the window for human detection and intervention is halved, human speed becomes an unacceptable risk vector. The city planner has to build autonomous defense to match this autonomous threat.
And what are the tangible threats we are already seeing that leverage this acceleration in speed and sophistication?
We're seeing AI agents accelerate threats across the entire attack kill chain. Adversaries are leveraging AI for highly convincing deepfake voices.
Right. There was that notorious 2019 case.
Where criminals synthesized the CEO's voice to trick an employee into wiring about $243,000. That's the precedent. But what's more common now is the use of AI to craft hyper-personalized, context-aware phishing campaigns and end-to-end credential abuse.
Accelerating account takeovers, or ETOs.
Yes, by eliminating the slow, manual steps of social engineering. This dramatically lowers the skill barrier for advanced threats.
This dictates that we have to focus on governing the autonomous agents. If these agents are probabilistic, autonomous, and therefore less predictable, relying solely on perimeter firewalls isn't just insufficient, it's irrelevant.
It's completely irrelevant. This demands a robust governance mindset rather than a reactive firewall mindset. When agents are making autonomous decisions, you need established guardrails to manage that inherent unpredictability.
So the CISO 2.0 has to approach these AI models like any other high-risk software that might be exploited.
Exactly. They require rigorous testing before they are ever allowed in your production systems. The governance has to be designed to manage the outcomes of the agent's actions, not just the code that created it.
And that means adversarial testing, or red teaming, becomes absolutely essential. You're moving from testing the network to testing the logic.
Precisely. Adversarial testing involves proactively simulating attack methodologies, like prompt injection, which is tricking the model into doing unintended actions, delusion, getting the model to accept false premises, and data leaking, coercing the model to reveal proprietary training data.
And you do this against AI models before they're deployed.
Before they're deployed. The MITRE Atlas matrix is the key operational tool here. It provides a detailed, organized breakdown of adversarial tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, specifically targeting AI systems. This allows security teams to proactively ferret out the logical vulnerabilities before malicious actors find them.
This proactive security planning is non-negotiable for autonomous agent deployment.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
If the speed of attack dictates the speed of defense, as we've established, then human intervention time is an obsolete security control. This brings us to strategic investment, autonomous risk remediation. Where must the CISO redirect capital immediately to counter this machine speed threat?
Strategic investment has to gravitate towards security solutions that operate at machine speed. Autonomous risk remediation. We are talking about systems that don't just alert a human, but actively fix the problem instantly.
So what does that include?
It includes things like self-healing access controls that detect anomalous behavior and adjust user permissions automatically. It includes continuous verification systems that replace periodic access reviews, ensuring privileges are verified moment by moment. And it includes dynamic privilege adjustment based on real-time risk scores.
So if a user's behavior deviates, their privileges are instantly truncated.
Instantly. Capital has to flow toward agentic AI solutions that can perform automated, preemptive defense and dynamic control adjustments. You're effectively automating the duties of the security analyst.
And what is the single most crucial near-term defensive investment to counter these AI-accelerated threats like account takeovers and voice deepfakes?
The sources are crystal clear on this point, as it targets the most exposed vulnerability. The single most crucial near-term defensive investment is expediting the move to phishing-resistant, passwordless, multi-factor authentication, MFA.
So that means using solutions like multi-device FIDO passkeys.
Yes. Given that AI agents automate credential abuse and accelerate account takeovers by exploiting phishable MFA methods, like SMS codes or push notifications, eliminating the weakest link, the password and phishable MFA, is the most immediate and impactful defensive action the CISO 2.0 can take.
Let's wrap up this strategic discussion with the AI-ready executive's portfolio summary, reviewing the comprehensive transition we've mapped out for you.
We've mapped the evolution from the traditional CSO, the reactive defender, who is focused primarily on securing the network perimeter and running threat detection,
To the CISO 2.0, the business strategist.
Exactly. The CSO 2.0's mandate is to lead the AI transformation by focusing on trust, on outcome-driven governance, and on strategic integration with those existing risk pillars: cyber resilience, data risk and governance, operational resilience, and strategic threat intelligence.
So success for you, our experienced professional, depends not on abandoning your deep technical knowledge.
No, not at all. It depends on translating it into a robust, outcome-driven governance structure that's woven into the entire enterprise fabric, enabling the business to leverage AI safely and quickly.
The roadmap is clear. It's a career evolution driven by strategy and governance, confirming that your deep technical experience is more valuable than ever, provided it's translated into measurable business value.
That's the key.
To summarize this deep dive for you, the experienced IT security director, your 15-plus years of expertise in threat detection, network security, and compliance are the foundational building blocks for your new role as the strategic risk architect. This transition is not about obsolescence. It's about applying that hard-won technical knowledge to these new systemic risks bias, model-driven, autonomous agents and translating them into strategic outcomes for the C-suite.
And we confirm the financial validation for this pivot. AI investment delivers rapid ROI, with 74% of executives reporting positive ROI on Gen AI within the first year. By shifting to outcome-based metrics like reduced mean time to detect and increase compliance efficiency, you transform security from a historical cost center into a measurable business enabler.
So your path forward involves mastering ethical leadership, operationalizing governance frameworks like the NIST AI RMF, and championing that strategic investment in autonomous defense technologies.
Especially phishing-resistant MFA to match the accelerating speed of the adversary.
Now, for one final provocative thought for you to explore, We dedicated a lot of time today to the need for continuous monitoring and adversarial testing of AI systems within your organization. But we also noted that the entire supply chain has often been the attack vector that leads to a breach. An organization is only as secure as the least secure element embedded in its systems. So, if attackers are now using AI agents to automate social engineering and credential abuse at machine speed, and they can target hundreds of your smaller, less sophisticated vendors simultaneously, what are the implications for your organization's entire supply chain?
That requires extending the city planner's vision far beyond the city limits. The focus has to rapidly extend beyond your internal controls to managing your vendor and partner's security posture with the same rigor. You have to pay particular attention to their long-term security strategy and even start asking about their quantum migration plans because the next generation of risk is already approaching the gate.
That is the true scope of the strategic risk architect.
Yes, sis.
That's something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.